Chapter 256. Gu Mingming heard an important point in Elvis's words and raised her brows, asking, "What did you say just now? Say it again." Elvis looked at Gu Mingming and repeated seriously, "So pretty." Gu Mingming shook her head and said, "The previous sentence." Elvis thought for a while and replied, "Just right." Gu Mingming still shook her head and said, "The first sentence." Elvis recalled his words and said, "You're a little fatter than before." Ah! Gu Mingming's sudden roar shocked Elvis, and he looked at Gu Mingming in confusion, completely out of the situation. Gu Mingming smiled sinisterly and pointed at Elvis, saying, "I'll give you 3 seconds to escape. If you're still caught by me, you're dead meat." Elvis frowned and said, "Xiao Meng, you didn't inherit my speed, so you can't catch up to me." Gu Mingming was even more furious when she heard that. She randomly pointed in a direction and said, 3. Elvis suddenly felt a chill down his spine and held onto Gu Mingming's shoulders, saying, "Xiao Meng, don't be angry, calm down, calm down." Gu Mingming stretched out 2 fingers and said, 2. Elvis strangely felt that his legs wanted to escape, but he completely did not know what he had said wrong again. Gu Mingming stretched out her 3rd finger and shouted, 1. With that, Gu Mingming started chasing after Elvis all over the cave. She picked up and threw whatever she passed, and threw it at Elvis with all her might. The miraculous Elvis did not know why Gu Mingming was chasing after him, and he also did not know why he was running. He also did not understand why Gu Mingming was chasing after him, while giving him food while looking so angry. Elvis just ran in front while catching the various food that Gu Mingming gently passed to him. He only turned back when he could no longer hold it in his arms and said, "Xiao Meng, I can't eat so much. If I eat all these, you won't have enough food to last till the end of winter. Eat. I'll let you eat," Gu Mingming said, and threw a huge potato at Elvis. She thought that with Elvis's skills, he would be able to dodge it easily, but who knew that the fool actually opened his mouth to catch it when he saw that he could not free his hands. But how could Elvis in his human form have such a big mouth to catch a potato the size of a dragon fruit? In the end, that potato smashed onto Elvis's nose with a loud thud, and a stream of blood flowed down from his nostrils. "Ah!" Gu Mingming exclaimed and ran over anxiously to hold Elvis's face in her hands. She reached out her little hand and touched Elvis's nose bridge lightly. Seeing Elvis gasping in pain, she felt both heartache and anxiety. She pulled him to Leah and rebuked, "Don't you know how to dodge when I hit you? Are you stupid?" He carried a pile of salted fish, salted meat, sweet potatoes and potatoes in his arms, and let Gu Mingming pull him out. He smiled faintly at her concerned look and replied, "That's your food. If I dodge it and it smashes against the wall, you won't be able to eat it anymore." Gu Mingming's face was filled with concern. Chapter 257. Leah naturally heard clearly what happened between Elvis and Gu Mingming just now. He also knew why Elvis was smashed by the potato. Looking at the bruise on Elvis's nose bridge, Leah sat cross-legged and looked at Gu Mingming, saying innocently, "Are you talking to me?" Gu Mingming knew what Leah meant, but she just felt uncomfortable, especially when she had to call Elvis that used to have a special meaning in front of him. Gu Mingming felt as if her mouth was smeared with 502, but looking at Elvis's swollen nose, she could only suppress her unwillingness and said softly, "Daddy Leah, please take a look at Elvis's nose." Leah dug his ears mischievously, indicating that he did not hear clearly just now because his ears were not clean enough. Then, he sat in an obedient position and looked up at Gu Mingming, saying, "What did you say just now? I didn't hear clearly." Gu Mingming clenched her teeth and shouted at the top of her lungs, "Daddy Leah, please take a look at Elvis's nose." Leah then stood up in satisfaction and walked to Elvis. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and leaned forward to look at Elvis's nose seriously. After looking at it for a while, he sat back in his original position and said, "All right, I'm done." Gu Mingming felt like she was holding back a mouthful of blood and really wanted to spit it all out on Lee's face. But since she had a favor to ask of him, she still lowered her arrogance. Clearing her throat, she smiled apologetically and said, "Daddy Leah, don't just look, you have to treat him. Elvis is the leader of Saint Nazir. As a wolf, How can his nose be damaged? Leah sat at his original position without moving and said, I can treat his nose, but you have to sing me a song first. Gu Mingming pulled Lee's arm and said, treat Elvis first, then I'll sing for you. Leah did not budge no matter how much Gu Mingming pulled and tugged at him. He said with a wronged expression, that won't do. Previously when you asked me to treat his back, you promised me 3 conditions. In the end, you only fulfilled 1 condition of letting me stay here. Don't mention singing to me. You didn't even bother to acknowledge me these few days. If it wasn't for Elvis injuring his nose today, I don't know when I would be able to hear you call me Daddy Leah again. No, if you don't sing first, I won't treat him. Just let his nose be swollen. Gu Mingming gritted her teeth and forced a smile. She asked, is it fun for you to do this? Leah looked at Gu Mingming's unwilling, but helpless look and nodded seriously. Gu Mingming sighed and took a step back. I will sing while you treat Elvis's nose. Deal. Leah thought about it and said, all right. With that, Leah stood up and found some herbs from the beast's skin bag he brought. Holding them in his hands, he turned back to look at Gu Mingming, implying that he would not treat her if she did not sing. Gu Mingming had no choice but to sing it. Luckily, he did not insist that Gu Mingming must sing A Little Happiness. As long as it was not that song, other songs did not have such a huge psychological burden. Chapter 258. Elvis and Leah were facing each other with smiles on their faces, but it was clear that they were in different states of mind. When Leah was done treating Elvis's wounds, Gu Mingming's singing stopped abruptly. Pulling Elvis over, Gu Mingming thanked Leah in a hurry, but still wanted to pull Elvis into the cave. Returning to their original living quarters, Elvis held onto Gu Mingming's waist, encircled her in his arms. His blue eyes stared deeply at Gu Mingming, his thin lips pursed tightly, but he did not say a word. What's wrong? Gu Mingming looked at Elvis, her fingers touching his nose gently, asking with a pained voice, does it still hurt? Elvis held onto Gu Mingming's little hand, sliding it down from his nose until it landed on his chest. His voice was very soft, but when it landed on Gu Mingming's ears, it made her heart throb. Here it's sour. Huh. Gu Mingming smiled at Elvis, a tinge of joy in her eyes. Elvis felt a little awkward. Males in the beast world could not express their desire to monopolize females, because they would be hated and spurned by them. In the entire beast world, there had never been a male who could monopolize a female. The family of the previous messenger of the beast deity was so huge that it was comparable to a tribe. But his Xiaoming was different. She always encouraged him to express his true emotions. So although Elvis was hesitant and uneasy, he still said his truest thoughts. I felt uncomfortable when I heard you singing for him. Gu Mingming's smile grew wider. Thank the heavens that this brother could still be jealous, or else she would really think that Elvis did not care about her at all. Gu Mingming purposely teased Elvis, tapping his head. You felt uncomfortable when I sang a song? Then which idiot invited him to my bed in the morning? Elvis replied with a serious face. I thought you liked it, so I did it. Gu Mingming pointed at her face speechlessly, asking, does it look like the words unladylike are written on my face? Elvis did not know what unladylike was, so he could not answer Gu Mingming's question, so he could only change his answer. I remember that you used to like Leah and me to sleep beside you in our original forms, so that you could sleep comfortably and wake up in a good mood in the morning, rolling around on top of us. I just wanted to make you happier, so I let Leah sleep with us. Gu Mingming recalled the morning when she first arrived and laughed dryly. She was dating Leah then, right? She did not feel uncomfortable when Elvis was by her side. Now that Elvis and Lee's roles were reversed, she actually kicked Leah off the ground. It turned out that her feelings for Leah had been reserved ever since then. Thinking about it this way, she did not seem to have any grounds to criticize Leah. Straightening her expression, Gu Mingming wrapped her arms around Elvis's arm and leaned on his shoulder, asking, then if I say that my mood will be better when I wake up in the morning and see Wu Yanzu, will you also place Wu Yanzu in my bed? Elvis remained silent for a moment before rejecting her righteously. No. Gu Mingming asked, why? Leah can, but Wu Yanzu can't? Chapter 259. Gu Mingming was amused by Elvis's logic. She looked at him helplessly and asked, "Won't you feel uncomfortable if you let someone else sleep with me?" Elvis frowned and answered, "Yes." Gu Mingming's heart warmed and she calmed down. She asked again, "Since you will feel uncomfortable, why do you still want to do this?" Elvis played with Gu Mingming's long hair and said helplessly, "According to the rules of the beast world, a male cannot stop a female from taking in a new partner. Otherwise, even if he is the first partner, he will be abandoned. I don't want to be abandoned by you." Gu Mingming pulled her collar and revealed her collarbone. That lifelike black wolf was sitting on her collarbone proudly, dominating the area. Gu Mingming said, "I will not abandon you. Even if I will quarrel and throw a tantrum, I will never abandon you. So you don't have to suffer like this. You obviously feel uncomfortable, yet you still want to stuff someone else into my bed. I don't like you to be so aggrieved. My man should be indomitable and heroic." Elvis's gaze flickered and he curled his lips. He pinched Gu Mingming's little chin lightly and asked, "If Barit comes to court me again, can I send him flying?" Gu Mingming thought about it and felt that Barit was quite pitiful. But compared to her man's mental health, Gu Mingming decided to sacrifice Barit. Anyway, she would not kill him. Barit would not dare to come again after being beaten up. That might not be a bad thing. Thinking about it, Gu Mingming nodded her head in agreement. Elvis's smile deepened and he asked again, "If Leah asks you to sing for him again, can I send him flying?" Gu Mingming did not know why Elvis was so obsessed with singing, but she was not a young singer and did not have the fetish to enjoy singing every day. If Elvis could help her block Lee's a song a day, Gu Mingming would be happy to see it happen. After all, singing a little love song to her ex-boyfriend in front of her husband every day was really stressful. Gu Mingming did not know why Elvis was so obsessed with singing a little love song every day. So Gu Mingming nodded her head happily. Elvis's smile deepened and he squinted his eyes, as if he had thought of a big move. He carried Gu Mingming horizontally and whispered into her ear, "If Sandy keeps coming to find you, can I send Bode flying?" Gu Mingming burst out laughing. "Sandy came to find me. Why did you go to Bode?" Elvis shrugged his shoulders in frustration. "Sandy is a female. She can't take a beating. You'll be sad if you accidentally kill him. I won't do anything that will make you sad. Because I like you, I'm nice to your friends. This kind of love me, love my dog, is precisely the expression of his love for you in his heart." If it was in the modern world, Gu Mingming would probably be a little wary. After all, it was not a joke to guard against fire, theft and besties. But in the beast world, such a situation would not occur. This made Gu Mingming feel extremely fortunate. Wrapping her arms around Elvis's neck, Gu Mingming smiled and said, "Compared to beating them up, I have a better suggestion." Elvis tilted his head and looked at Gu Mingming's mischievous look, waiting for her to continue with an eager expression. Chapter 260. Elvis hugged Gu Mingming and pressed his forehead against hers intimately, whispering into her ear, "Gu Mingming, I love you. Gu Mingming, I love you. Gu Mingming, I love you." Gu Mingming smiled in response to Elvis's gentleness, whispering into his ear, "Hubby, I love you too." At that moment, Elvis felt that there was only warmth and happiness left in his life. The bloody, cold and darkness in the past were just a nightmare, and Gu Mingming was the hand that woke him up gently. Her gentleness was what he had been yearning for his entire life. Elvis kissed Gu Mingming's lips, gently caressing her lips and tasting the fragrance in her mouth. His slightly rough fingers brushed past the wolf on Gu Mingming's collarbone, giving off a strange feeling that could not be described. Elvis laid on his back, placing Gu Mingming on his abs, his large hand holding onto Gu Mingming's slender waist. Gu Mingming sat on Elvis's stomach. Although she had only experienced mating once in her life, it was very magical. Just by looking into Elvis's eyes, she could clearly understand what he wanted to do. Gu Mingming bashfully hammered Elvis's chest, whispering, "Leah is still outside." Elvis held onto her little fist, pulling her into his arms gently, kissing her little face, then whispering into her ear, "It's all right, he was there the previous time too." Gu Mingming's face flushed red instantly. The previous time she screamed as miserably as a pig being slaughtered. It would be fine if only Elvis heard it. But why did even Leah? She really could not tell. Leah looked so dignified. How could he have the fetish of eavesdropping? Gu Mingming hammered Elvis's chest. Then why didn't you remind me the previous time? Elvis sucked on Gu Mingming's little earlobe, and his voice had already become a little hoarse. It was obvious that he had already entered the zone. He did not answer Gu Mingming's question, and just used his warm words to brush against Gu Mingming's earlobe, using his unique tenderness to say, "Gu Mingming, I love you." Gu Mingming's ears were very ticklish, especially when Elvis's big hands were getting more and more restless. One hand was pinching her waist to prevent her from running around, while the other hand was exploring her spine, as if he was lighting a line of fire on Gu Mingming's back. It was scorching and numb, causing her to twist her body uncontrollably. It seemed like she was struggling, but more like she was teasing him. "Last time, I was afraid that you would get hurt, so I didn't dare to use my full strength. It's been hard to hold it in these few days. Xiaoming, don't reject me, okay?" Gu Mingming sneaked a peek at Elvis's size. The pain from the previous time instantly awakened in her memory and exploded. She did not know if it was a psychological effect, but Gu Mingming could even faintly feel the pain from that time. Blushing, Gu Mingming said softly, "You also know that our sizes don't match." The previous time. "I'm still hurting now." Elvis saw the redness on Gu Mingming's little face, and his originally blurry eyes were covered with a thick layer of crimson. His blue eyes became as deep as the ocean, and the corners of his lips curled up slightly. He was like a god of war who had descended from the heavens, and was tainted by the flames of the mortal world, giving off a different kind of allure. Elvis pulled Gu Mingming's little hand and kissed it, coaxing her. "I was inexperienced the previous time and hurt you. This time, I'll be gentler." Gu Mingming wanted to cry, but no tears came out. "What's the use of being gentler? You have to make that thing smaller." Aside from the topic. Yeah, the password is in the author's words in the next section, and the link is in the group announcement. QQ Group 492779727. 3. The rule of entering the group is to try not to send me private messages, because if everyone keeps sending me private messages, I won't have time to write. Chapter 261. Elvis flipped over and pinned Gu Mingming under him. He kissed her from the side of her face to her neck. Elvis's words landed on Gu Mingming's skin along with his warm breath. It was as if every word was a scorching sensation, making one's heart flutter. "All right, then let's become smaller." Gu Mingming hammered Elvis's shoulder and said, "Who are you trying to fool?" But Elvis just smiled and planted a deep kiss on Gu Mingming's eyes, saying, "Don't look at anything other than me." Gu Mingming's heart melted from Elvis's words. She wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck and said with a trembling voice, "I don't want to look either, but I'm scared." Elvis looked at Gu Mingming's pitiful look and knew that she was really scared. But seeing how scared Gu Mingming was, he could not bear to force her. So Elvis, who had decided not to have sex today, kissed Gu Mingming's lips and comforted her. "Don't be scared, I won't hurt you." Gu Mingming whimpered. Although she was scared, she still decided to trust Elvis. After all, they had already become partners. They could not possibly not be fish for the rest of their lives, right? She had to get used to this kind of thing. Elvis rubbed Gu Mingming's thigh gently, helping her to soothe her emotions and relax her muscles. The gentle kneading made Gu Mingming's emotions slightly more relaxed. She stretched out her limbs lazily like a cat, allowing Elvis to do whatever he wanted. Elvis's slender and powerful legs hooked onto Gu Mingming's calf lightly, entangling their legs together. The back of his hand followed Gu Mingming's waistline down to the back of Gu Mingming's waist, pulling her into his arms. Intimately smelling her unique fragrance, an indescribable feeling of peace spread throughout Elvis's entire body. He could feel that this little person was really existing in his arms. Her beauty and everything about her were not his imagination. This was enough to make him feel happy. Elvis looked at Gu Mingming, who was tipsy and had a dazed gaze. He really wanted to see her crying and begging for mercy again. Their stomachs overlapped and Elvis's scorching heat warmed Gu Mingming's slightly cold abdomen. Waves of warmth spread into her body from her navel. Gu Mingming moaned in comfort and stretched out her arms to hug Elvis's neck. What happened next came naturally. Some words were omitted here. After Gu Mingming fell asleep in Elvis's arms, Elvis kissed her forehead that was stuck to her hair and said gently, "Next time, don't torture me like this, understand?" Gu Mingming was extremely tired and did not really listen to what Elvis was saying. She just moaned and fell into a deep sleep. Elvis pulled over a piece of beast skin and covered both of them. Under the beast skin, their fingers were intertwined. One was sleeping peacefully while the other was engrossed in watching. It was as if time had stopped here and had no effect on them. Suddenly, Elvis furrowed his brows and looked towards the entrance of the cave. Not long after, Leah walked in with his brows furrowed. He was afraid of disturbing Gu Mingming, so he did not make a sound. He just pointed outside with his chin, signaling Elvis to come out and talk. Elvis nodded and carefully covered Gu Mingming with the beast skin to ensure that no cold wind could enter. He then added 2 more firewood into the fire before following Leah out of the cave. They had not walked far when Elvis felt that the temperature in the cave was not right. The snow seal at the entrance of the cave had been opened by someone. Digression. Password, FVPA readers. 492779273. No password was needed to enter the group as the password was used to retrieve the files. Chapter 262. With this knowledge, Elvis immediately raised his guard. On the other hand, Leah patted his shoulder lightly, signaling him not to be nervous. Elvis had absolute trust in Leah. Leah knew that Gu Mingming was in the cave, and if it was really dangerous, he would definitely not be so calm. Thinking about this, Elvis relaxed a little but still maintained a vigilant attitude. He followed Leah to the outermost room of the cave. Bird's tribe. Elvis looked suspiciously at the man standing outside the entrance of the cave. There was a sickly look in his delicate features, and he looked weak and listless. But his posture against the wind and snow was much more docile than the average person. His skills were not as weak as he looked. Elvis noticed that there were 2 feathers in the hair above his ears. That was the unique characteristic of the Bird's tribe and the Beast tribe. But the Bird's tribe had always prided themselves as the rulers of the sky, and rarely had any dealings with the Beast tribe. That was why Nina could run amok in Saint Nazaire for so many years with just Quentin. But now, this person from the Bird's tribe had come to them on his own accord? Could it be? Elvis cast his gaze at Leah, asking him if he knew anything. Leah gave Elvis a look, signaling him not to worry. This Bird tribe's motive for coming here was different from the people in Sauter. Elvis then relaxed slightly. He took a step forward and stood at the edge of the cave entrance. "I'm the leader of Saint Nazaire, Elvis. What business do you have in my territory?" That man sized up Elvis from head to toe. After confirming Elvis's identity, he then said, "Leader of the Eagle Owl tribe, Ian, I heard that you have sufficient food reserves. If you are willing to share some with me and my tribesmen to help us survive the winter, we will join Saint Nazaire and become your tribesmen. How about that?" The alliance of birds was a huge temptation to any tribe, especially the ferocious birds like the Eagle Owl tribe. If they could join, it would definitely be like adding wings to a tiger. If it was in the past, he would definitely not hesitate to give all his food to the Eagle Owl tribe. But now, he did have food reserves, but these were prepared for Xiaomeng. Sacrificing Xiaomeng's food in exchange for the tribe's strength, Elvis was not willing. "We do have food, but how much do we need?" Leah understood Elvis's worries, but he also knew that this was a rare opportunity. If they missed this chance, it would be very difficult to invite the Bird's tribe to join them again. "Our Eagle Owl tribe doesn't have many members. Including me, there are a total of 32 males. As long as you can provide me with 10 prey, in addition to our own, we should be able to survive this winter." The price that Ian offered could be considered as sky high, because in winter, let alone 10 prey, even half a prey was extremely precious. Many males were prepared to stew themselves to fill the stomachs of their females, so how could they have extra prey? Furthermore, there were 10 of them. Originally, Ian had planned to let Elvis bargain, but he did not expect Leah to agree to it with a slight smile. Chapter 263. Ian looked at Leah with a disdainful expression. He raised his head and said, "Us Eagle Owl tribe are birds that fly in the sky. We are closer to the beast deity than you beasts. We will never go back on our words." Leah did not mind Ian's disdainful attitude. He just casually took a small bowl that Gu Mengmeng used to eat from the side. Then, he scooped half a bowl of water from the pot that had yet to cool down and passed it to Ian. He said, "I am Saint Nazir's witch doctor, Snow Fox Leah. If you sincerely wish to join us, I will represent Saint Nazir to form a blood alliance with you. From then on, there will be no more Eagle Owl tribe in this world, only the stronger Saint Nazir. How about that?" Ian's expression changed. Witch doctor, a deity that could communicate with the beast deity. And it was from the Snow Fox tribe. Ian frowned. Signing a blood alliance with such a person would not allow him to go back on his word. His decision now would affect the future of the entire Eagle Owl tribe. Could Saint Nazir really be entrusted to him? Leah was not flustered. He just held the bowl and smiled faintly. He said, "If I am not wrong, the Eagle Owl tribe should be at the end of their rope now? Otherwise, the arrogant Birch tribe would not be willing to give up their tribe name to seek help. I guess your tribesmen will not be able to hold on until you find a second tribe that is willing to share food with you. Moreover, in the entire beast world, there is no other tribe that could possibly have enough food to share with you." Ian's thoughts were clearly seen through. His brows furrowed even tighter, and he tightly closed his lips, no longer speaking. Foxes were cunning, and snow foxes were especially good at reading people's minds. He could not reveal any more information. That would only make him more passive in this negotiation. Leah did not mind Ian's guard. He just continued, "A tribe without any females, other than gradually disappearing, what other outcome would there be? Joining Saint Nazir is currently the most advantageous situation for all of you. Other than being able to survive this harsh winter, you can also ensure that you will have sufficient food to fill your stomachs every winter in the future. If you are lucky enough, you can even mate with the females in the tribe and conceive cubs. Of course, you can also reject and fly away. The tribe leader and I can't and won't stop you. It's just a pity that a tribe might cease to exist after this winter." After Leah finished speaking, he looked at Ian with a tinge of sympathy. Ian clenched his fist and replied, "I can sign a blood oath, but I have to sign it with your clan leader." Leah raised his eyebrows and lifted his chin. "If you don't want to sign, then forget it. But don't blame me for not reminding you. If you missed the chance to join us, when the other people from the Flying Tribe join Saint Nazir next year, I'm afraid it won't be easy for you to come again." Ian looked at Elvis, who was standing behind Leah without saying a word. He just stood there quietly, and did not even emit any powerful aura. But Ian could clearly feel his power. Saint Nazir? Ian savored the name, and looked at the black and white duo in front of him. A tribe leader, and witch doctor like them should be able to bring the Eagle Owl tribe to a brighter future, right? "Alright, I'll sign." Ian nodded. Then, he plucked out one of the 2 feathers on his ear and handed it to Leah. Leah used this feather to prick his finger and dripped a drop of blood into the bowl. When the blood met the snow water, it bloomed like a rose in the dark night. Leah gently dipped the feather into the blood water and pierced it between Ian's eyebrows, leaving a blood-red cinnabar mole. At this point, the blood oath was formed. Aside from the topic. Chapter 264. Leah arranged for Ian and his tribesmen to stay in his own cave. The food stored here was just scattered pieces of meat, skinless and boneless. But just by looking at it, one could tell that there were more than 10 of them. There was definitely more than enough. There were also all the other herbs that Ian's tribesmen did not recognize, so there was no point in keeping them. Leah then wrapped them in beast skin and brought them back to Elvis's cave. By the time Leah had settled everything and returned, Gu Mingming had woken up from her dreams in a daze. She held onto her waist and was limping as she chased after Elvis. Elvis dodged while not daring to run too fast, ensuring that Gu Mingming would hit him every 2 to 3 times. Anyway, it was not painful, so he just treated it as playing with her. Leah leaned against the door and watched the commotion in the cave. He thought he was just smiling faintly, but he did not know that the envy on his face was so much that it could not be concealed. The moment Elvis turned around, Gu Ming Ming, who could not stop in time, fell into his arms and bumped into him. Gu Ming Ming was about to reach out to pull Elvis's ear when Elvis looked at Leah with a serious face and said, "Leah, you're back." Gu Ming Ming's little hand turned halfway and scratched her head. She used her elbow to secretly nudge Elvis's waist and said softly, "I'll let you off today." After that, he turned around and went back to his own room. After Gu Ming Ming left, Leah looked at Elvis and asked, "What happened to Ming Ming? Why did she hit you again?" Elvis shook his head helplessly and said, "I don't know either. Everything was fine at first, but she asked me if she became fat. I said yes, so she started chasing after me and hitting me." Leah looked at Elvis suspiciously and said, "You didn't say anything else? She got angry just because I said she became fat?" Elvis nodded with a serious face. Leah was also at a loss and asked in confusion, "Isn't it a compliment to be able to gain weight during winter? Why did she get angry? Think again, did you do anything else?" Elvis thought hard for a long time and confirmed that he really did not do anything else. The two males looked at each other and remained silent. Meanwhile, Gu Ming Ming, who was in the deepest part of the cave, had the veins on her forehead twitching. She could not bear it any longer and roared, "Can you guys speak softer? King heard everything." Elvis and Leah shuddered and immediately changed the topic stiffly. Ian and the rest of the tribesmen have all been arranged. We will officially introduce them to the rest of the tribe during the rainy season next year. Saint Nazir will have air power in the future." Elvis nodded in agreement. "Do you think they are trustworthy?" Leah nodded and answered, "They have already signed the blood alliance. They won't dare to go against it." As they were talking, Gu Ming Ming peeked her little head out from the entrance of the cave and waved at Elvis, asking him to come over. Elvis thought that Gu Ming Ming wanted to hit him a few more times, so he smiled indulgently and said, "It's all right, Leah is not an outsider. You don't have to be afraid of him. If you want to fight, then come and fight." Gu Ming Ming held her forehead and wrinkled her nose. "What nonsense are you spouting? When did I say I wanted to hit you? I'm so gentle and virtuous." Chapter 265. Gu Ming Ming accepted Elvis's compliment with a clear conscience. Because the snow sealing the cave entrance had been broken twice, it was not sealed very tightly, and there would always be a cold breeze blowing in. Gu Ming Ming snuggled deeper into Elvis's arms and found a comfortable position to nestle in. She looked up at Elvis and asked, "What are you guys talking about? Can I listen?" Elvis pulled a long beast skin from the side and wrapped Gu Ming Ming up. He checked carefully to see if there were any exposed areas that would be blown in by the wind while replying, "Silly girl. Saint Nazir is your tribe. Why can't you listen?" Gu Ming Ming was a little pleased, but she still said, "You are the great tribe leader who built Saint Nazir from scratch. Saint Nazir is yours. If you think it's inconvenient for me to listen, I can just avoid it." Elvis made sure that the beast's skin had connected seamlessly to his body, and that Gu Ming Ming would not be blown by the cold wind. He then freed one hand to receive the cup of water from Leah. He tested the temperature of the water, and it was a little warm, which was suitable for Gu Ming Ming. He then brought the cup to Gu Ming Ming's mouth to feed her water while replying, "I am all yours, so Saint Nazir is naturally also yours." Gu Ming Ming smiled and said, "Such a sweet mouth." After drinking a mouthful of water fed by Elvis, Gu Ming Ming then raised her head and continued asking, "Then what's up with the Eagle Owl tribe that you guys mentioned just now?" Elvis placed the cup at the side and gave Leah a look. Leah then answered Gu Ming Ming's question, "Do you still remember the stray beasts from the previous time?" Gu Ming Ming frowned and instinctively shrunk into Elvis's arms. She nodded her head, obviously still having a lingering fear. Lee's heart ached a little. If he knew that they would be lured into Elvis's cave by Gu Ming Ming's singing and scare her badly, he should have gotten rid of them when they stepped into Saint Nazir. But now that things had come to this, he could only be more cautious in the future. He could not turn back time and return to the past. He sighed softly and continued, "I originally thought that those who ran away were frozen to death outside. I didn't expect that one of them was only frozen stiff and not completely dead. After that, he recovered and ran to the Eagle Owl tribe to snatch food, but was subdued by Ian. To save his life, he told Ian about the food reserves in St. Nazaire. So the Eagle Owl tribe followed the stray beast's directions and came to seek shelter with us. Eagle Owl. What animal is that? It can fly. Gu Mingming's mind was filled with the giant eagle following behind Yanghua. That fellow looked like it could only eat but could not fly. Did the Eagle Owl race look like that too? Standing together with Quentin, who had a broken arm. Ha ha ha. Is this a barbaric version of cosplay? Yes, it can fly. Leah did not know why Gu Mingming's expression became a little strange, but she seemed to be in a good mood, so he did not mind it too much and continued asking. You have to make the decision on this matter. Do you want to take them in? Me. Gu Mingming pointed at her own nose and asked. Why am I the one in charge? Didn't the two of you, the chief and the witch doctor, already decide? I heard you say just now that you have already signed a blood alliance with them and given them your prey. How can you go back on your word? You can go back on your word if you don't agree. Leah said. The one who signed the blood alliance is me and not Elvis, so you don't have to worry. Aside from the topic, do you remember what Leah said when you killed Damagua? You still have to hug Gu Mingming. It's not good to dirty your hands. Chapter 266. Gu Mingming vaguely sensed a strange yet unsettling element in Li's words, so she asked, if we go back on our words after signing this blood pact, how will it affect both parties who signed the pact? Leah was surprised at Gu Mingming's sharpness, but also felt a sense of warmth. She did not ignore it just because it had nothing to do with Elvis, perhaps. She still cared about him. The suffocating feeling in Li's chest loosened a little. He tried his best to look nonchalant, but his eyes never left Gu Mingming's little face. He was so desperate to see an answer from her face. Any answer would be good. Thus, he said each word slowly and lightly. With blood as an oath, if you regret it you will die. TSK. Gu Mingming frowned and said angrily, have you ever been kicked in the head by a donkey? How can you sign such a pact with others so easily? What if the other party has a bad character and uses St. Nazaire's name to swindle others and create trouble? We can't even chase them away. Gu Mingming patted her head in despair and said, It's over, it's over. It's easy to invite them in but hard to send them away. God bless us. Please don't let these people from the Eagle Owl tribe be evil people. Leah tried to understand Gu Mingming's worries, then replied, once they join St. Nazaire, they have to be controlled by Elvis and me, and follow the rules of St. Nazaire, or else we have the right to banish them and execute them. So what you are worried about will not happen. I have checked carefully today, among their tribe. There are no orcs above the 3rd level. None of them are a match for Elvis and me. Gu Mingming rolled her eyes at Leah, looking at him as if she was looking at an idiot. They can fly, can you too? Leah choked, but his heart melted a little. The last time Gu Mingming spoke to him so naturally was before winter. His smile deepened and Leah was in a good mood. Even his tone became more relaxed as he replied. So I signed a blood pact with them. Once they don't listen to us and become a threat to St. Nazaire, I can activate the blood pact to kill them on the spot. Gu Mingming did not feel relieved at all because of Li's preparedness. She just glared at Leah gloomily and said, Yes, kill them on the spot and sacrifice your own life at the same time. Are you courting death, or courting death? You can't bear for me to die. Leah asked cautiously. Gu Mingming was shocked, and instinctively raised her head to look at Elvis. She felt as if she had been caught red-handed by her own husband. He felt so guilty. Licking her lips, Gu Mingming buried her face into Elvis's chest and said gloomily, It's everyone's responsibility to cherish life. Every life should be treated with kindness. Although it wasn't the answer he wanted to hear. But it meant that she cared about him and couldn't bear to see him die, right? Leah smiled even more brightly. Even though Gu Mingming could not see, he still used his most gentle gaze to stare at the little human, who was wrapped tightly in beast skin in Elvis's arms. He replied, Don't worry, the flying beasts claim to be the closest to the beast deity. They are a tribe that takes promises very seriously, and will not usually do anything that goes against their vows. Chapter 267. Leah was rendered speechless by Gu Mingming's retort, and could only shake his head helplessly, smiling faintly without saying a word. Elvis, on the other hand, tidied up the beast's skin, wrapping Gu Mingming gently, exposing her little face from the beast's skin to prevent her from suffocating. Then he replied, Quentin did those things not because of his evil nature, but because the female he fell in love with was Nina. The males in the beast world may have all kinds of personalities before mating. But once mating, the personality of the partner will determine the male's emotions. They will infinitely get closer to their partner's preferences, turning themselves into the person she likes more. Gu Mingming looked up at Elvis, her eyes filled with confusion. Elvis smiled and tapped her little nose, saying, If one day you ask me to kill another female, I will do it without hesitation. If it's what you want, I will even do it more cruelly than Quentin. Gu Mingming shuddered and hugged Elvis's waist, saying, Hubby, calm down a little. Elvis rubbed Gu Mingming's little head and sighed, saying, What a pity. You never gave me the chance to do anything for you. Sometimes I even envy Quentin. Although Nina is not good, she gave him so many chances to do things for her. And I did not even do one thing to prove my loyalty for you. Gu Mingming knocked Elvis's head, saying, What nonsense are you spouting? Is what Nina did testing the loyalty of her partner? She did it as the damn representative of courting death. We are not the same kind of people. I also don't wish for you to become a puppet like Quentin, who can't tell right from wrong. Moreover, I feel that you have already done enough for me. I don't need to worry about where I will stay in this world of ice and snow. I don't need to worry about what to eat or what to wear. Even if stray beasts suddenly rush in, I know you will protect me. Even if I can't even tell the difference between day and night in the cave, I still feel very safe. All of this is because of you, who said that to prove one's loyalty, one has to go through perilous situations. It's the most romantic thing to be able to accompany me to watch the long river flow. Do you understand? Elvis rested his chin on the top of Gu Mingming's head and swayed his body gently. He said gently, But all these, every male can do it for you. I want to do something that no one else can do for you. I want to make other females envious of you. Gu Mingming smiled and shook her head. I don't need others to envy me. It's enough for me to know that I'm living a blissful life. Elvis sighed, but there was no other way. His Xiaomeng had always been special. The more easily satisfied she was, the more he felt that he had not done enough for her. After thinking for a while, Elvis said, Xiaomeng, do you have anything in particular that you want? Tell me, I'll help you find it. Gu Mingming smiled and said, Yes, I have something that I really wanted, but I already got it. Elvis thought that even if she already had it, he could find more for her. So he asked, What is it? Gu Mingming sat up on her knees and held Elvis's face in her hands, giving him a kiss. A wolf in love. Elvis nodded. Elvis's heart warmed up. He smiled and pulled Gu Mingming back into his arms. He kissed her lips back and did not let go for a long time. Leah felt that Gu Mingming should not be in the mood to care about the Eagle Owl tribe anymore. Based on their pace, it was almost foreseeable what would happen next. Just when Leah was about to leave, he suddenly heard Gu Mingming retch. Then she pushed Elvis away and squatted in a corner to vomit. Digression. So. Chapter 268. The two males panicked. Elvis hurriedly fetched some water to rinse Gu Mingming's mouth, while Leah moved to Gu Mingming's side. He used one hand to pat her back to soothe her breathing, while using the other hand to touch her forehead to feel her body temperature. Her temperature was slightly higher, but it was still within a healthy range. Her face was rosy and her breathing was stable. Everything was normal. But why did she vomit? Xiaomeng, come and drink some water. Elvis passed her the warm water, and Gu Mingming took it to rinse her mouth. She forced herself to drink a few mouthfuls before she could breathe again. She looked at Elvis pitifully with her red eyes. She had vomited till she had no energy left in her body, and now she was especially longing for Elvis's embrace. Elvis opened his arms to hug Gu Mingming with heartache. He patted her back gently to soothe her emotions. Leah, on the other hand, hurriedly went to check on the food residue that Gu Mingming had eaten today. After confirming that there was nothing unusual, He then checked on Gu Mingming's vomit, and there was nothing unusual too. Everything was normal, but she vomited. Li's mind suddenly lit up, and he immediately transformed into a fox. He moved to Gu Mingming's side and sniffed between her legs. Hey, what are you doing? Leah, don't be like this. Gu Mingming shut her legs tightly and used her hands to push Li's head with all her might. Elvis knew that Leah would not cause trouble for no reason, but his current actions still made Elvis very unhappy. Thus, he carried Gu Mingming on his shoulders and stood up to look at Leah, who was in his beast form. Xiao Ming told you not to be like this. She doesn't like it. Leah did not transform back, but just used the beast language to squeak at Elvis. Elvis's body first trembled, and then he froze as if he was petrified. What's wrong? Gu Mingming patted Elvis's face and asked. Elvis turned his head with difficulty like a rusty robot, and looked at Gu Mingming. Can you let him smell carefully? Elvis! Gu Mingming roared. Are you a freaking pervert? Would you be excited to have someone else sniff your wife's body? Scram. Lil Miss won't cooperate with your disgusting taste. Xiao Ming, don't be angry, you can't be angry. Elvis was a little incoherent, and almost bit his own tongue when he spoke. Gu Mingming became even angrier upon seeing him like this. She slapped his head and said, Stop talking nonsense. No means no. Leah was so anxious that he kept walking in circles. Seeing that Gu Mingming refused to cooperate and Elvis could not persuade her, he could only transform back into his human form and pull Gu Mingming down from Elvis's shoulders. However, he did not have any lingering feelings between a man and a woman, because he had not touched her for a long time. He just said to Elvis with a straight face, She doesn't want me to smell, so you do it. Hurry, you can smell better in your beast form. Elvis did not dare to waste any time at all. He instantly transformed into a wolf and leaned in between Gu Mingming's legs to sniff. Then, he looked up at Gu Mingming in a daze before burying his head to sniff again. Gu Mingming was so angry that she raised her leg and kicked Elvis's face. Her hands were not idle either. She pulled Elvis's hair with all her might and struck a weird pose of a martial arts master who punched a witch doctor and kicked a tribe leader. Gu Mingming took the opportunity to run into another cave, while the two of them were still in a daze from the beating and could not react. She had only taken 2 steps when Elvis, who had transformed back into his human form, hugged her tightly from behind. Just as Gu Mingming was thinking of a way to break free, she heard Elvis say in an agitated and trembling voice, Xiao Ming, we have a cub. Aside from the topic, applause sounded. Alright, this is how things are, so everyone can send their blessings. Chapter 269. Gu Mingming's first reaction was to laugh out loud and slap Elvis's arm. Stop fooling around. How is that possible? Elvis turned Gu Mingming around gently, but did not allow her to resist. He looked into her eyes and said seriously, I am sure you are pregnant. If you don't believe me, let Leah confirm it again. K. Do you think your nose is a B-scan, and you can tell if I am pregnant just by smelling it? Why don't you just go to heaven? Gu Mingming could not maintain her smile, because the 2 fellows in front of her, their expressions were so damn serious that it was scary. I am a wolf, I can't fly. Elvis was a little hesitant. He started to regret accepting the Eagle Owl tribe. What if Xiao Ming fell in love with them, because they could fly? Gu Mingming really wanted to laugh, but she could not. She raised her trembling finger to point at Leah and asked, Are you sure? Leah smiled, and there was an indescribable passion in his eyes. It had nothing to do with lust or love. It was the passion of a person who had been trapped in the darkness for a long time and finally saw the light. He took a step forward and said, I am 80% sure, if you can let me confirm it in detail. Gu Mingming raised her hand and made a gesture to stop him. Leah indeed stopped talking immediately and exchanged glances with Elvis. Both of them were so nervous that they held their breaths and looked at Gu Mingming, who looked like she was struck by lightning. They did not know what her next reaction would be. Wah. Gu Mingming's legs suddenly turned to jelly, and she sat down on the ground. Luckily, Elvis's reaction was fast enough. and he turned himself into a praying mat made of wolf meat to catch Gu Mingming firmly, so that she did not fall onto the ground. Leah was also panicking. In his impression, once females heard that they were pregnant, they would all be so excited that everyone in the world would congratulate them. Why did Gu Mingming look so sad? Elvis's heart ached too. The hand that was carrying Gu Mingming touched her flat stomach. His heart sank into extreme torment as he watched her cry so heartbroken. After a long time he finally said, "Xiao Meng, if you don't want to give birth to little wolves, I'm only 19. Where I come from, I'm not even at the legal age for marriage. I'm still a baby, how am I supposed to raise a child?" Sob, sob, sob. Does it hurt to give birth to a wolf? Will I give birth to a husky with a human head? What if my son is a monster? What should I do? Elvis did not know how to comfort Gu Mingming, because he could not understand her worries. But he knew that Gu Mingming was crying not because she was unwilling to give birth to his cubs. This made him feel at ease. As long as it was not because of this reason, he had the confidence to face any other problems and difficulties. Thinking about this, Elvis gently wiped away Gu Mingming's tears and comforted her. "Don't worry, I'm here. Don't worry, I will go." Gu Mingming exploded and punched Elvis's chest harshly. She said angrily, "Damn it, you didn't give birth to me and you're not the one in pain. It's easy for you to say that." Elvis frowned and looked at Leah asking, "How painful is it when a female gives birth?" Elvis smiled bitterly and said, "I have never given birth before." Elvis stayed silent for a while and asked again, "Didn't you help Nina before?" Leah recalled and said, "It was quite easy for her to give birth that time. I did not hear her cry out in pain." Elvis heaved a sigh of relief and patted Gu Mingming's back lightly. "See, Leah said it was not painful." Gu Mingming said angrily, "Nina lays eggs and the eggs are so small. Have you given birth to wolves before? Can wolf cubs be as big as eggs? Even if I did not study much, you cannot lie to me like this." Aside from the topic, yeah, I have to thank my little baby Ling Ling. Gu Mingming showed off her hand-drawn cartoon to the author's group chat yesterday and felt that she was so awesome she drew it super cute. Chapter 270. Elvis and Leah were instantly shocked. Their expressions were as if they had discovered a shocking secret. Gu Mingming felt even more uncertain after seeing that. She pointed at Elvis and Leah and said, "I knew it was easy for you to talk. You guys have no experience at all. Are you trying to use me as a lab rat?" I'm not doing it. Elvis hugged Gu Mingming to prevent her from hurting herself due to being overly agitated. He was very careful with his every move, afraid that she would be wronged. "Xiao Meng, don't be afraid. I will go and find other females from other tribes who have given birth to wolf cubs before to ask. I will tell you once I'm clear, all right?" Gu Mingming pointed at Elvis's nose and looked at him, as if she was looking at Chin Shimmy. She said, "I worked so hard to give birth to a son for you and you actually want to leave me when I'm pregnant?" Elvis did not know how to explain himself. He shook his head and waved his hands innocently. Leah said, "Then I will go ask. I am a snow fox, and my chances of surviving during winter are higher than yours. You stay and take care of Gu Mingming. I will go ask." Elvis frowned and said, "No, you are the witch doctor. If anything happens to Xiao Meng, it will be safer for you to be there. You cannot leave." Then, the two of them were in a dilemma. They looked at each other, but could not think of a solution. Gu Mingming stiffened her neck and kicked Elvis again. She said, "Stop talking nonsense. I won't give birth anyway. You can give birth yourself." Elvis and Lee's eyes lit up at Gu Mingming's words. Elvis asked, "What are the chances of success?" Leah replied, "I don't know, I have never tried it before." Elvis remained silent for a moment before saying, "Put all the risks on me. You just have to promise not to hurt Xiao Meng." Leah and Elvis started to size Gu Mingming up seriously. That expression, Gu Mingming really felt that she was a lab rat. What are you guys doing?" Gu Mingming was so scared that she even forgot to cry. "We are thinking, what are the chances of success if we take the wolf cubs out of your stomach and place them into Elvis's?" Leah answered honestly. Gu Mingming rushed up and slapped Lee's face. She glared at the stunned Leah and Elvis, who were stunned, and roared. Do you have any humanity? Cut open my stomach, can I still live? Could the child survive? Do you think this is the little gecko borrows its tail? You can grow it back if you cut it off. Gu Mingming grabbed onto Elvis's beast skin dress and pulled him towards her. She stared into his eyes and said, We just made it, and it's not even winter and you're already tired of me, right? You want to team up with Leah to kill me so quickly, so that you can marry a young and beautiful one? There's no more love, is there? Elvis really felt that he could not explain himself and hurriedly shook his head. No, I'm just afraid that you will suffer, my heart aches for you. Gu Mingming pushed Elvis and said, If you really dote on me, you shouldn't have made me pregnant back then. Why are you acting like a hindsight now? Elvis lowered his head, like a child who had done something wrong. Gu Mingming calmed herself down, as if she was tired after messing around. She stepped on the side of the bed with one leg, and placed the other on the ground casually. She hugged the leg that was stepping on the bed with both arms, and rested for a while before continuing. Elvis, let me ask you, do you want this child or not? Elvis hurriedly nodded his head. Yes. Aside from the topic. Update announcement. We have successfully passed the first round of PK in Audiobook City. Now we will begin the second round of PK. From today until next Tuesday, we will maintain updates with 6 updates every day. Babies, please continue to work hard and leave comments and votes. Then, please try to help me light up 5 little stars when you are commenting. I love you guys, thank you babies, thank you QQ Reading Baby. Ru Yu for tipping 100 reading points, and thank you Ling Ling for tipping 388 reading points. Chapter 271. Gu Mingming asked again. Then after giving birth, will you love the baby or me? Elvis answered, both. Gu Mingming lifted her chin and asked, Who do you love the most? Elvis hugged Gu Mingming and said gently, Of course I love you the most. This will never change. Gu Mingming then nodded her head in satisfaction and asked again, Then will you not love me anymore because I lost my figure after giving birth? Elvis really did not have any concept of losing his figure, but he was very sure that no matter what Gu Mingming became, he would still love her. So he shook his head firmly and said, I swear to the beast deity, I will love you forever and love you more and more every day. Gu Mingming leaned into Elvis's arms and hugged his waist, saying, You said it. If you have a change of heart in the future, I will bring my son back to where I came from and never come back, so that you will never be able to find us. Elvis frowned and held on to Gu Mingming's shoulders, saying, Take it back, take it back. Gu Mingming pouted, feeling so wrong that she wanted to cry. Elvis's heart ached, but he refused to back down. Using a pleading tone, he said, Whatever you want, I will do as you please. But you are not allowed to say or even think about leaving me. Gu Mingming did not give in and straightened her neck, saying, You have a change of heart and you still don't allow me to leave? Are you being reasonable? Elvis held on to Gu Mingming's little hand and placed it on his chest, frowning and saying, If you have a change of heart, then dig it out. But you are not allowed to leave me. Gu Mingming tried to retract her hand but did not succeed, so she used her other hand to hit Elvis's chest, saying, I can't even beat you, why would I dig it out? As long as you say it, I will dig it out personally for you, Elvis said. Gu Mingming turned her face away and said, You have a change of heart, will you still listen to me? I will not have a change of heart. Elvis pinched Gu Mingming's chin and turned her little face towards him, kissing her lips without any explanation, as if it was a punishment, but more like a silent promise. Gu Mingming was kissed dizzily, and only regained her freedom when she was out of breath. Gu Mingming was kissed till she was dizzy, and only regained her freedom after she ran out of air. Elvis placed Gu Mingming's little ear on his left chest, letting her listen to his heartbeat as he swore, I, Elvis, will only love Gu Mingming as the only female in my entire life. If I go against this oath, I'm willing to suffer the pain of being skinned and having my bones torn apart. Mingming Gu Mingming's ear. Gu Mingming looked up and said, Mingming Gu Mingming. Mingming a chi gu gu's this, Ling's a, Elvis's a, Gu a and Mingming mg god. Gu elming her. Elvis cupped Gu Mingming's little face and kissed it. Then he said, "Promise me, don't ever say that you want to leave me again, do you hear me?" Gu Mingming nodded in agreement. Elvis heaved a sigh of relief and said, You have a cub now. You can't run around recklessly. You will be in big trouble if you fall." Gu Mingming nodded and said, "For the sake of my baby's safety, I will not run around anymore. I will walk slowly and pay attention to my own safety." Elvis said, "Don't even walk, just lie down. If you want to do something, just tell me and I will do it for you, understand?" Aside from the topic, thank you to the little baby from Xiaoxiang Academy. Intoxicated by the spring breeze. For the flowers, yeah, I know you must ask where 075 went. No need to look, 075 is not there. Because when I was saving the manuscript, I did not know why there was a missing number in the editing chapter. I did not notice it at all. It's too late to change it now. The later chapters will be messed up. So this chapter's content is the same as the previous one, but the number is skipped by 1. Chapter 272. Gu Mingming looked at Elvis in shock. She blinked her big eyes and said, "Then what if I need to poop? You help me poop?" Elvis paused for a moment and said, "I'll carry you there." Gu Mingming covered her face and laughed. "Stop fooling around. Pregnancy doesn't mean you're completely paralyzed. Do you really need to be unable to walk? At my place, pregnant women need to exercise moderately. That way, it'll be easier to give birth and reduce the possibility of dystocia." Speaking of this, Leah also leaned forward and started listening to Gu Mingming's little lecture with a serious face. Gu Mingming held her lecture and pointed at the water cup not far away. Leah immediately understood and filled the cup with warm water and placed it in front of Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming nodded like an old professor and took the cup to drink a mouthful of water. Then she started saying, "During pregnancy, a female's body structure will undergo a huge change. If she doesn't exercise for a long time, her muscles will degenerate, and it'll directly lead to a lack of muscle strength during childbirth. If her muscles lose strength halfway through childbirth, and the baby gets stuck there, tisk, it'll be a tragedy." He looked at Leah seriously, then at Gu Mingming and said, "Then from tomorrow onwards, I will accompany you to exercise and strive to fill your body with energy 2 months later." Gu Mingming nodded and said, "Then I will accompany you to exercise from tomorrow onwards." Gu Mingming's eyebrows twitched. She had a bad premonition. It was as if she could see herself being trained by Elvis to become Najah from 100,000 cold jokes 2 months later. Gu Mingming shuddered and hugged her own shoulders, saying, "Everything has to be done in moderation. Exercise must be moderate and scientific. If you don't exercise, you won't have enough muscle strength. But if you exercise too much, it might affect the baby's qi and cause a miscarriage. By then, the baby will die in the womb, and both of them will die." Gu Mingming was halfway through her sentence when she suddenly thought of whether wolves were restricted by the one-child policy. If she gave birth to too many children, it would be a serious problem if she brought her husband and son back to her parents' home one day. So, she tilted her head and asked Elvis, "How many offspring does your wolf tribe usually give birth to?" Elvis said, "Usually it's 3 to 9, but I think I've also heard of one that gave birth to more than 10. Gu Mingming really wanted to roll her eyes and kill herself. Giving birth to twins in the modern world was already awesome enough. How many people would be envious of triplets? But when it came to her, triplets were just jumping valves. What the heck? Gu Mingming could almost see herself giving birth to a bunch of huskies, that feeling. Gu Mingming shuddered and patted Elvis's shoulder, saying, "Then this is a serious matter. If the fetus is affected, it could be 10 lives in one body." Elvis's brows formed a dead knot as he looked at Gu Mingming with pursed lips. At this moment, he was really regretting. If he knew that giving birth was so dangerous, he should not have let Xiaoming get pregnant. Gu Mingming saw how frightened Elvis was, and the little devil in her heart was secretly satisfied. So, she patted his shoulder and said, "Although a woman giving birth is like a day trip to the gates of hell, and she could be pulled into the underworld anytime to tour it. However, this is a woman's duty after all. As long as she eats and drinks well during pregnancy, maintains a happy mood, and exercises appropriately, the probability of accidents during childbirth will be greatly reduced. Aside from the topic, thank you to the little baby from Xiaoxiang Academy, Lomanilio, for the 50 flowers. It was the first time I received such a huge bouquet of flowers, so happy. Chapter 273. Elvis and Leah engraved Gu Mingming's words into their hearts, as if they were listening to the Empress Dowager's decree. They completely did not realize that Gu Mingming's words were mixed with lies. She was a university student who had never been in a relationship before. All her birthing experience was learned from television dramas and novels. But it was better than nothing. Compared to Elvis and Leah, these two ancient people who had no knowledge and common sense, and did not even watch television, Gu Mingming was already considered knowledgeable. The two males exchanged glances sternly. They did not even open their mouths to communicate, and had already assigned their tasks. Leah turned around and asked Gu Mingming with a smile. Tell me, is there anything you want to eat in particular? I'll help you find it. Gu Mingming looked at the white world outside and shook her head helplessly. Didn't you say that we can't go out when the snow seals the mountain? Leah swung his large tail and said in a slightly arrogant manner, Normal orcs can't, but I'm a snow fox. The snow during winter is my world. Leah sent his tail into Gu Mingming's arms. Gu Mingming rubbed it instinctively and realized that as compared to before, Lee's tail seemed to be much thicker. Looking closely, there was a thick layer of fur growing on the part that was close to his skin. If Lee's tail was said to have an enchanting fairy aura in the past, it was now 100% cute and furry like an anime. Suppressing her desire to stroke it, Gu Mingming forced herself to let go. She turned around and pounced into Elvis's arms. She hugged Elvis's waist tightly with both her hands, but could not help but stare at Lee's tail. Damn, furry fetishism was really hard to cure, especially when it came to such a white, soft and fluffy tail. She really had no resistance against it. Gu Mingming puffed up her little face and said, It's useless even if you can go out. There's nothing to eat in this world of ice and snow. If there's really something, the people in the tribe don't need to talk about the cold anymore. Before winter, everyone looks like they're bidding farewell to everyone. Leah was more or less disappointed that Gu Mingming did not hug his tail like before. But seeing that Gu Mingming's expression was no longer as determined and indifferent as before, Leah already felt very happy. He took a step forward and half knelt in front of Gu Mingming. His two furry little ears were fluttering on the top of his head, while his large tail that resembled a cat teaser swayed to and fro without any rhythm. He stretched out a furry paw and placed it on Gu Mingming's thigh, looking very much like Daji from King of Glory, except that it was a snow-white male Daji, and it was the one with thicker fur. Tilting his head and elongating his neck, his perfect side profile matched with his long and narrow eyes. His gaze was shallow but full of affection. With a slightly seductive tone he said, They are not worth it for me to brave the wind and snow to look for them. And you deserve everything I have. Undeniably, Gu Mingming's heart palpitated again because of Lee's actions. Biting her lower lip, Gu Mingming turned her neck back forcefully and buried her entire face into Elvis's chest. She muttered in her heart, You must be a woman, you must be a woman. Damn it, mental infidelity is also infidelity. It's equally unforgivable. Elvis gently cupped the back of Gu Mingming's head. He could see all her reactions and changes towards Leah even more clearly than Leah. Perhaps, because she cared, she was especially sensitive. Aside from the topic, thank you to Xiaoxiang Academy's babies, Weiexine 14027D2, and Mayuan 65 for their evaluation votes. Chapter 274. Leah did not force Gu Mingming to give any reaction. He just chuckled, stood up and walked out of the cave. As he turned around, his large tail brushed against Gu Mingming's waist lightly, not knowing if it was intentional or not. Through her clothes she felt a tingling sensation. Elvis brought Gu Mingming back to the depths of the cave. The snow sealing the entrance of the outermost cave seemed to be in a state where it could no longer be sealed after being smashed over and over again. As Leah entered and exited, the cold wind kept gushing in. Gu Mingming was carried back to her own cave. She still felt a little cold, so she asked Elvis to use beast skin to block the entrance of the cave. Elvis punched 2 pieces of firewood, as thick as a forearm, into the top of the wall. A mottled tiger skin with 2 front claws tied to the wood became a crudely made, but unusually luxurious beast skin curtain. After going through a few turns in the cave, there was not much cold wind that could enter Gu Mingming's cave. With this tiger skin curtain blocking the wind, and Elvis's method of burning firewood for free, Gu Mingming's cave was the warmest place in the world. Gu Mingming sat on the chair and kicked her little feet in boredom. She looked at Elvis and asked, "Hubby, can't I hug your tail?" Elvis was boiling water on the fire to keep the cave moist and prevent Gu Mingming from having a nosebleed again. He turned back to look at Gu Mingming and said, "I thought you don't like it." Gu Mingming tilted her head and asked, "Why not? You're my hubby." Elvis set up the pot properly and returned to Gu Mingming's side. He did not sit on the bed, but sat on the floor with his knees bent. He leaned his shoulder against Gu Mingming's knee and pulled her little hand over to play with it gently. His gaze was a little dim. The fire was so close to him, but it could not light up his eyes. "My original form is not as pretty as Lee's. I don't have white and soft fur like his." Gu Mingming hugged Elvis's neck and shook it. She knew that Elvis would feel that he was not as good as Leah. It was mostly because she had shown too much infatuation with Lee's original form in the past, and neglected Elvis's feelings, causing him to feel so inferior. Feeling a little guilty, Gu Mingming's voice also softened. "Is it because of this that you rarely revert to your original form in front of me?" Elvis nodded and avoided her eyes for the first time. He was afraid of seeing disdain and disgust in her eyes. That's right, compared to the likable Leah, who would like to be dressed in black. Gu Mingming held Elvis's face and turned him towards her. She looked straight into Elvis's eyes and said seriously, "But I have already mated with you. I can't possibly go and play with other people's bodies, right? I'm pregnant with your child right now. Do you have the heart to not even let me have such a small wish?" Elvis did not reply and just slowly transformed his own tail. He was not as confident as Leah to flaunt it in front of her. That black tail made him feel a little ashamed. He wanted to gain her love and approval, but he was also afraid that she would despise him when things went wrong. Hence, that large tail revealed a small edge behind his back. Hesitating, Gu Mingming did not care so much about him. She scooped up Elvis's large tail and hugged it in her arms. She carefully stroked it a few times before saying in surprise, "Wow, you're really hiding it well." Aside from the topic, today's update is over. Tomorrow will still be 6 updates, babies. Remember to vote and leave a message. When you leave a message, please help Susu to light up 5 little stars. Thank you to Xiaosheng Academy's babies, WeiXN 14027D2, and Mayuan65 for their votes. Chapter 275. Elvis's expression froze as he looked up at the surprised look on Gu Mingming's face. Was she pretending to like him to comfort him? Gu Mingming rubbed her face against Elvis's large tail, her mood soaring. Unlike Lee's tail, Elvis's tail was not as fluffy, nor did it have a firm layer of fur. The fur was slightly harder than Lee's, but it was not to the extent of prickling her hands. Gu Mingming inserted her fingers into the base of Elvis's tail and stroked the fur upwards. The feeling between her fingers felt like she was skimming over a fine beach. It was clearly filled with hard particles, but it carried the warmth of the sun and a unique delicacy. This was different from Lee's absolute fluffiness and softness. It was soft with a hint of firmness, fluffiness with a hint of stubbornness. The punk style of the furry world. Gu Mingming's intoxicated look made her forget herself. That soft gasp of admiration turned into a whimper in her throat. It was the first time in his life that a magical feeling came from his tail, causing Elvis to be petrified. From Gu Mingming's actions and gaze, he could clearly feel that Xiaoming really liked his tail, and was not pretending to comfort him. This knowledge made him very excited, and the electric current coming from the tip of his tail directly charged a certain part of his body. The uncontrollable change made him feel rather uneasy. He secretly looked at Gu Mengmeng, who was unable to extricate herself from stroking his tail. He realized that she did not notice his abnormality at all. So Elvis fell into a strange struggle. He really wanted to pounce on Gu Mengmeng, but she was so focused on stroking. Would she be angry if he disturbed her? What if she cried out of anger? It was said that pregnant women should not be angry. They must maintain a good mood to give birth successfully. But what if she could not hold it in any longer? Gu Mengmeng felt Elvis's tail gradually stiffening. She kicked Elvis's butt in dissatisfaction and said, "What are you doing? Relax." Elvis swallowed his saliva with difficulty, then lifted his beast-skin skirt helplessly and said, "Xiaomeng, it's a little difficult for me to relax now." Gu Mengmeng then noticed Elvis's huge reaction. She was so shocked that she hurriedly hugged his large tail to calm herself down. She stroked his large tail while saying, "Elvis, calm down. I'm in the early stages of pregnancy now. I can't withstand your torment. If you poke me with that stick, my baby, and I will really die in front of you." Elvis had a bitter and conflicted look on his face. His deep eyes clearly showed that he was burning with lust. He stared at Gu Mengmeng, but did not dare to act rashly. Gu Mengmeng cleared her throat. She could not bear to see Elvis being so aggrieved, so she cleared her throat and patted the seat beside her, saying, "Why don't you sit over here? I'll think of another way to help you." How could Elvis not be satisfied? Thus, he flipped over and climbed onto the bed, lying down obediently, not moving an inch. Elvis's actions were so swift that the large tail that was originally in Gu Mengmeng's arms slipped away. How could this work? Gu Mengmeng slapped Elvis's buttocks, and with a crisp smack, Elvis's face instantly burned up. Bearing with the dryness in his throat, Elvis looked at Gu Mengmeng while panting heavily. He looked just like a frightened grandmother wolf. "What are you looking at? Who asked you to pull your tail away? Quickly return it to me, or else you can just hold it in. I don't care about you." Gu Mengmeng raised her head with an expression of a queen attacking. Aside from the topic, thank you to the little darling of Xiaoxiang Academy, LJH 131998386, for your rating ticket, and thank you to the little darling of QQ Reading, Jido, for her 99 reading points password. 7K3Y Daily Group Expansion, 4927799273. Chapter 276. After all, Gu Mengmeng was still responsible to Elvis. Since she had lit the fire, she had to extinguish it herself. However, this person in charge was semi-automatic. Halfway through, she fell into a deep sleep from exhaustion, leaving Elvis to slowly deal with the rest. Luckily, Elvis's heart ached for her and did not dare to torture her too much. After releasing it once, he cleaned up the mess for her and placed her on the bed to let her sleep. After getting pregnant, Gu Mengmeng could sleep even better than before. When she woke up due to thirst, she did not know how much time had passed. Gu Mengmeng lifted the beast's skin, and before her feet touched the ground, Elvis had already passed her a cup of water. "You're awake? Drink some water to moisten your throat." Gu Mengmeng tasted it lightly. It was warm, and the temperature was just right. Gu Mengmeng felt much better after drinking a cup of warm water. Stretching her arms, she leaned on Elvis's shoulder lazily and asked, "How long did I sleep?" In Elvis's world, there was no such thing as a few hours to keep track of time. After thinking for a while, he could only reply vaguely, "I slept for most of the day." Gu Mengmeng rubbed her flat tummy. She did not look any different, but when she knew that there was a baby in her tummy, she still felt that it was very magical. Although she did not feel hungry, but even if the adults did not eat, the little ones still had to eat. Although Gu Mengmeng did not have much experience as a mother, she knew that she could not let her own children starve. So Gu Mengmeng rolled up her sleeves and prepared to make some food. When she walked to the pot, she remembered that Leah had left before she went to sleep, saying that he was going to look for snacks for her. She slept for half a day. Why didn't she see Leah when she woke up? Gu Mengmeng turned around and asked Elvis, "Did Leah come back when I was asleep?" Elvis took out a piece of beast skin and put it on Gu Mengmeng. This piece of beast skin was designed according to Gu Mingming's own ideas. It would be an exaggeration to say that it was a design. It was a complete piece of giant rabbit skin with the front paws and soles removed, then sewn into a simple sleeve. Gu Mingming's arms were thin and could fit through it. The back legs only needed to be sewn according to the thickness of Gu Mingming's calf. A few beast skin ropes were tied around the abdomen. Actually, it looked like mini one-piece cartoon pajamas on Taobao. Just that Gu Mingming was wearing a giant rabbit. The fluffy white fur complemented Gu Mingming's skin very well. Before the firelight, she was like a jade doll emitting a warm glow, making people want to get close and protect her. Elvis helped Gu Mingming put on the giant rabbit pajamas while replying, "No, it's very difficult to find food during winter. I reckon it would take at least 3 to 5 days." Oh. Gu Mingming was a little depressed, feeling that her character was really not that good. She clearly knew that Leah was treating her so well to redeem their relationship, but she had already mated with Elvis and could not possibly reconcile with Leah. Yet she still made him do all this for her. She really smelled like a rotten green bitch. Elvis did not know what Gu Mingming was thinking about, but seeing her depressed look, he felt a little depressed. Wrapping his arms around her waist, Elvis hugged her from behind and whispered into her ear, "Why? Miss him? Do you want me to find him for you?" Gu Mingming pinched her nose and said exaggeratedly, so sour." Aside from the topic, thank you to the QQ reading babies covering the moon. Like the moon, seeing the deer in Han Shure. Firefly deer on the other shore, for gifting 100 reading points. Thank you to all the babies who supported Susu during the PK period. This is the last PK chance we have before we go on the shelves. If we pass it, Susu will get a very important recommendation spot. This spot is really very important to Susu. So babies, please help me to leave more comments, and that free recommendation ticket every day. Please give it to me, please, please. If we win the second round of PK, there will be a third round of bonus points. If we lose, then one will go on the shelves directly. Chapter 277. Elvis smelled it seriously, and didn't notice any sour smell. He didn't mind and just stared at Gu Mingming, squinting his eyes and saying, "Is it because I didn't satisfy you just now so?" As Elvis said, he carried Gu Mingming up horizontally. Needless to say, he was going to make up. Gu Mingming hurriedly shook her head and said, Don't. I'm pregnant, and I can't overwork. My old waist is still hurting now." Elvis looked at Gu Mingming's exaggerated acting and couldn't help smiling. He tapped her little nose and said, "You can have many partners, but you must love me the most." Gu Mingming raised her eyebrows and looked at Elvis with a strange gaze, unable to differentiate between joy and anger. Elvis's heart tightened. Did he cross the line? This kind of request, females really don't like it. Elvis sighed. What did he say just now? But Gu Mingming grabbed Elvis's ear and twisted it, pulling it upwards. She said with a smile on her face, "I can have many partners? What do you mean? Are you suspecting me of having an affair with Leah? Or are you expecting me to have an affair with Leah?" Elvis's ear hurt from being twisted, but he felt a tinge of sweetness in his heart. Gu Mingming's strength was not light. She didn't let go as she questioned, "Why? Do you think I'm annoying and want to push me into someone else's arms? You don't want your wife and children anymore?" Elvis didn't care about his ear and just hugged Gu Mingming in his arms and kissed her, saying, "I can't wait for you to only have me by your side, but I want you to be happy." Which eye of yours saw that I'm not happy? Gu Mingming saw that Elvis's ear was already red from being twisted, and her heart ached so much that she let go. She crossed her arms in front of her chest and looked at Elvis stiffly. Elvis's mood was a little down as he said, "You looked so disappointed to find Leah not around when you woke up." Gu Mingming poked Elvis's brows and said, "Leah is not my husband. He braved the wind and snow to find snacks for me, and is still not back so late. How can I have a clear conscience and pretend that I don't know how to eat and sleep? If we owe them a favor, how are we going to return it in the future? It would be great if nothing happened to him. If something happened to him, I would be traumatized for the rest of my life." It's only right for males to do things for females. If it wasn't for the fact that only Leah could move freely during winter, I think all the males in Saint Nazaire would be willing to do these things for you. Gu Mingming once again felt the communication barrier caused by the difference in views. She remained silent for a moment to organize her thoughts before asking, "Why do males treat me so well? Just because I'm a female? Or is it because you want to express your goodwill and mate with me?" Elvis was confused. "What's the difference?" Gu Mingming said, "If someone treats me well and I accept it, I have to repay them in some way. For example, I ordered Bode to find the honey because I taught him how to get it without getting hurt, and he gave me some of the honey I taught him. I accepted it without any burden. But if he wants to give me half of the fish he catches, I can't take it. Similarly, I can accept the food, beast skin, and other daily necessities that you prepared for me because you are my husband. But I won't accept these things if they are given to me by others, because if I accept them, it will give others a wrong hint and make them feel that they can mate with me if they put in more effort for me." Aside from the topic. Chapter 278. Elvis listened without fully understanding and did not interrupt Gu Mingming's words. Gu Mingming took a deep breath and continued, "If you are not really considering accepting him as your partner, you should not have given him such an illusion right from the start. This kind of use is too shameless, and a person of integrity, like me, cannot do it. And now, Leah is staying in our cave because of your injury, and his cave is temporarily occupied by the Eagle Owl tribe. He helped us when we were in danger. We can't possibly burn the bridge and chase him away, right? So I agreed to let Leah stay in our cave, but I don't want to receive too much care from him." Gu Mingming paused and sorted out her emotions before continuing. "Leah and I, you know about it too. But no matter how much I liked him in the past, now that I have become your partner, I don't want him to think that we can return to how we were in the past if he treats me better. So the best way is to not cross that line and maintain a distance that is neither too far nor too close to each other. If he went to look for snacks for me today and only needed about half an hour to return, then I can accept it. We are friends. It is normal for him to run errands for me when I am pregnant. But if he needs to be gone for 3 to 4 days, to me, it is too much of a burden." After hearing that, Elvis remained silent for a long time. His blue eyes were as deep as the ocean. He pondered for a long time before asking, "Leah, you really don't intend to forgive him?" Gu Mingming did not answer and asked back, "You hope that I can forgive him?" Elvis hesitated for a moment, but eventually nodded his head. Gu Mingming sat back and pulled some distance away from Elvis. She frowned and asked, "And then? What do you hope that I will do after forgiving him?" A blood vessel popped out on Elvis's forehead. His struggle and conflict did not need to be described, and it was obvious. After what felt like a century, Elvis finally replied with a dry voice, "Accept him and let him be your partner." "What about you? Are you leaving me?" Gu Mingming asked coldly. Elvis looked up suddenly and shook his head firmly. "I will not leave you, not at any time." Gu Mingming crossed her arms in front of her chest and said, "I can only have one partner, you know that." Elvis tried to hold Gu Mingming's hand, but was flung away by her. Elvis knew that Gu Mingming was angry, but he still decided to continue. Taking 2 steps forward, Elvis circled Gu Mingming in his arms and rested his chin on Gu Mingming's neck. His voice was so hoarse that it made one's heart ache. "I long to enjoy you alone, to let you belong to me alone. But other than the time he spent with you, his life was worse than death. There was only hatred and destruction in his eyes, just like me back then." Gu Mingming could vaguely feel something. She could not describe what she was thinking, but she knew that she should listen to Elvis's words quietly. So she did not struggle anymore, and allowed Elvis to hug her and talk about his past with Leah. "We are all people standing on the precipice, teetering on the brink of collapse, yet blindly walking towards the abyss of eternal damnation. I'm very lucky to have you holding me back. Leah originally had such a chance too." Elvis sighed and said, "Until we met you, Leah and I finally came back to life. If we had not met you, we would have continued living on hatred. But now, if we lose you, there is nothing else that can support us to continue breathing. Aside from the topic. Chapter 279. Elvis could tell from Gu Mingming's expression that she wanted to know what had happened in the past. Although those memories were not pretty, and it would be bloody if he peeled open his wounds. But if he could talk about those things, other than Gu Mingming, there was no one else he could open his heart to. Elvis sighed and asked, "Where do you want to start?" Gu Mingming placed her little hand on Elvis's chest, and placed it on his left chest to feel his heartbeat. She leaned into his embrace gently and said softly, "Start from the part where you are willing to share with me, and where you will not feel uncomfortable." Elvis recalled his past seriously. When he was hugging Gu Mingming in his arms, he suddenly felt that the countless sleepless nights, and the hatred and bloodlust in his heart, were not worth mentioning. After having Gu Mingming, he felt that those torturous days were just a nightmare that passed by in the blink of an eye, so blurry and insignificant. Since she was talking about Leah, then he should put those painful past aside for now. Xiao Ming's mood would only be affected if she knew about those unhappy things. With that thought in mind, Elvis hugged Gu Mingming's shoulders and said slowly, "Let's start from the day I met Leah. At that time, I was still a lone ranger, and I met Leah, who was covered in wounds in the depths of the forest. He was on the verge of death, and could not even maintain his human form. But he refused to lie in the ditch and wait for death like a normal beast. Instead, he raised his head and stared in one direction with determination. I did not know what he was looking at, I only knew that gaze. I had seen it countless times in the reflection by the water." Elvis paused and smiled sarcastically. He continued, "I don't even know what I was thinking at that time. For some unknown reason, I gave half of my food to him. Then, I sat together with him, and ate the first meal in my life with someone accompanying me peacefully. That feeling was very strange. It was clearly the first time we met, but it felt like we had known each other for a long time. We did not need to say anything, and we could understand each other's thoughts. Or, it was not that we did not need to say anything, but those feelings could not be expressed in words." Elvis looked down at Gu Mingming and asked, "What are you laughing at?" Gu Mingming rubbed her tummy and answered, "If I had not mated with you, I think I would really believe that you and Leah are a couple." Gu Mingming had already answered this question a long time ago. Elvis frowned and sighed. "How can two males form a pair?" Gu Mingming pouted and mumbled softly, "Only people of the same sex need to attack and receive. How can people of different genders love each other?" "What did you say?" Elvis gritted his teeth in anger. How can we love each other when we are of different genders? Now that they had a baby, what else could it be if it wasn't love? No, you can continue. Gu Mingming waved her hands and apologized for ruining the atmosphere, although she was not sincere at all. Elvis did not continue as he thought of something else. He cupped Gu Mingming's little chin and said, "I remember you had thought of this before. You even treated Lee's prayer as a forced marriage on me on the day of the coming-of-age ceremony, right?" Gu Mingming burst out laughing when she thought of how Leah dressed up strangely and stood on top of the wooden pagoda. She nodded her head in delight. "Then, who do you think is the one on the attack and the one on the receiving? Aside from the topic." Chapter 280. What the heck, this question was too serious. If she answered honestly, Gu Mingming had no doubt that Elvis would make her lie in bed until her son was born in order to prove his masculinity. What the heck? Just thinking about it made Gu Mingming's legs go numb, and her hip bones turned soft, while her heart shuddered. Laughing dryly, Gu Mingming rubbed her temples and pretended to be forgetful. Sigh. People say that pregnancy makes you dumb for 3 years. I just got pregnant, and my memory deteriorated rapidly. The things in the past. I can't remember anymore. Elvis did not know what to do with Gu Mingming, but he was not a fool. Raising his brows, Elvis pinched Gu Mingming's little nose and said, "Remember, I will ask you again 3 years later. Think about it carefully, then answer me." "Yes, Sir Hubby." Gu Mingming wrapped her arms around Elvis's arm obediently and looked up at him. Continue, what happened next? Elvis sorted out his emotions that were messed up by Gu Mingming and continued. After we finished eating, Leah suggested to me to create a tribe. I was very shocked at that time. There were only the two of us. How could we create a tribe? And at that time, I was used to drifting. Settling down was something that I had never thought of. But at that time, I did not have anything worth doing. Creating a tribe was just one of the many crazy things that I had yet to try. At that time, I had the thought of accompanying him for 2 days and leaving when I felt bored. So I agreed to his suggestion. That year, the two of us fought side by side, using battle after battle to tear open a gap in the territories of many tribes, delineating our own territory, and forming the embryonic form of Saint Nazir's territory. But at that time, our tribe did not even have a name. In the spring of the second year, Leah and I went to the female beauty pageant. It was the first time we met Maya. She was originally accompanying the first beauty of their tribe to participate in the contest, but on the way back, they met stray beasts. The males in the tribe could not protect both of them at the same time, so they chose to give up on Maya and protect the first beauty with all their might. But it was a pity that stray beasts were not the type to give up easily. They asked one of them to look after Maya, while the other one attacked with all their might, fighting for the other female. In the battle, the female was bitten to death by a stray beast that had gone berserk. Instead, Maya, who had been abandoned from the start, managed to survive because she curled up quietly at the side. I originally didn't want to bother about these troublesome matters, but Leah said that for the tribe to develop, there must be females. And females saved from the stray beasts are the least likely source of conflict. So the two of us saved Maya from the stray beasts and brought her back to the beauty pageant. Even though Maya was still underage then, after Leah dressed her up, she managed to attract many males to follow her and join our tribe. And the name Saint Nazir was the result of Lee's consultation with the beast deity during Maya's coming-of-age ceremony. In beast language, it means reaper. At that time, everyone in the tribe knew about Maya's experience, so they thought that the beast deity's intention was to make our tribe stronger and use the identity of reaper to save more females like Maya from the stray beasts. But Leah and I both knew that the meaning of reaper to us is revenge. Digression. Thank you Bianing Lu for tipping 100 points. Thank you babies for your support during the PK period. Susu saw all the 5-star reviews that everyone worked hard to help Susu. Thank you babies. Chapter 281. Revenge. Gu Mingming did not understand what he meant and asked, "To whom?" We have never asked each other this question, but we both know very well that in our hearts, there is someone we need to take revenge on. Elvis paused for a moment before continuing. Now it seems like Sauter is the one Leah wants to take revenge on. What about you? Gu Mingming pressed on. Elvis lowered his head and met Gu Mingming's eyes. His blue eyes reflected the light from the fire, just like the starry night sky, so dazzling that one could not look away. Gently rubbing Gu Mingming's little head, Elvis said with a gentle face, "Now I can no longer remember what I hate, because those compared to you are too insignificant." Gu Mingming's heart warmed and she smiled. "I am very honored to be able to walk out of your unhappy past with me. In the future, we will be very happy." Elvis nodded, his smile full of tenderness. He lifted Gu Mingming's little chin and kissed it, saying, "So don't ever leave me. I don't want to go back anymore." "Yeah." Gu Mingming nodded and kissed Elvis back. Elvis carried Gu Mingming and placed her on his lap, then used his chin to gently rest on the top of her head. Looking at the burning fire, he slowly opened his mouth and continued, "I don't know what the people of Sauter did to Leah, but I know that Lee's hatred towards them is inextinguishable. From the start, his decision to build Saint Nazir was not a spur-of-the-moment decision." Gu Mingming was taken aback and continued Elvis's words. "What you mean is, from the start, Leah wanted to build a strong tribe to fight against Sauter, for revenge?" Elvis nodded slowly and said, "Meeting me was an opportunity. His plan only started to form after meeting me. I don't know why he would place me in such a central position and not become the tribe leader himself. With his abilities, even without me, he should be able to achieve his goal. I've asked him this question before, and his answer was, I'm more like a living person than he is. Gu Mengmeng did not quite understand the meaning of this sentence. She wanted to raise her head to take a look, but Elvis pressed against her little head to stop her. He played with her little hand and continued, This sentence is very strange, right? Over the years, I would occasionally think of these words, but I never understood them. It wasn't until I met you that I saw with my own eyes what Leah meant by living. Can you imagine? In the days before I met you, Lee's expression had always been smiling and had never changed. Regardless of whether he was facing an unreasonable female or a powerful, despicable, or vulnerable opponent, his expression was always the same. No one could tell his emotions from his expression, not even me. But after meeting you, his eyes began to shine, and his smile began to represent his emotions. I even saw jealousy in his eyes. Just because you ignored him when you were fooling around with Sandy, he gradually recovered from being a shell and started to look like a living person bit by bit. Only then did I know that he said those words back then. Perhaps it was because I would at least express the emotions of disgust or impatience towards certain things, while he did not even have these two emotions. Aside from the topic. Chapter 282. Gu Mengmeng found it hard to imagine. What kind of life was it for a person to not have any feelings of disgust? Or could he still be considered alive? Elvis hugged Gu Mengmeng's little head and kissed it, continuing, A person who has not had any emotions for many years, any emotion he feels now will be magnified many times more than an ordinary person. The amount of happiness he once felt because of you is the same amount of pain he feels now. I'm afraid he can't withstand such a huge difference. Gu Mengmeng's heart tightened too. She felt a sense of guilt, as if she did not kill him, but he died because of her. Biting her lower lip, Gu Mengmeng felt a little discouraged and said, But I can't mate with him just because I pity him. If I don't love him but accept him, wouldn't his future life be even more miserable? Maybe, after a period of time, he won't get any reciprocation from me and will slowly give up? Or maybe one day, he will meet someone better and realize that I'm not worth his persistence? Elvis smiled and held Gu Mengmeng's little face, saying seriously, In this world, there's no one better than you. Gu Mengmeng felt good being praised by her own husband, but she was too embarrassed to admit it, so she said, That's just what you think, others might not think the same, right? Elvis sighed. He hoped more than anyone else that the two possibilities Gu Mengmeng mentioned could come true. But he knew better than anyone how impossible these two possibilities were. Persuading his own female to accept someone else. Elvis could be considered a precedent in the beast world. Because other females did not need persuasion at all, it was something that could not be stopped. They could just casually go out for a walk and come back home with a few new members. But the one in their family was so caring, so gentle, so unbearable. I won't force you to accept Leah, but at least give him some time to get used to it. Don't be too cruel to him before he gives up. Elvis's hand tangled with Gu Mengmeng's fingers lightly, feeling extremely conflicted. Who would be willing to let his wife find a few more men? But if I hadn't challenged him to a duel that time, he would be the one with this happiness now. Every time I see Leah being sad for you, I feel like a despicable thief who stole the happiness that should have been his. Gu Mengmeng suddenly laughed. She looked up at Elvis and asked, Do you really think that you won me from a fight? Elvis nodded his head seriously. Gu Mengmeng really did not know whether to laugh or cry, and was too lazy to explain. She just hugged Elvis's face and kissed his chin, saying, All right, then you better improve your skills well. If we lose one day, our family might have a few more family members. Elvis remained silent for a moment before asking, Will you accept Leah if he defeats me? Gu Mengmeng did not answer but asked back, If I say yes, will you go easy on me? Go easy. Where to put it? Elvis asked seriously. Gu Mengmeng was speechless. She rearranged her words and said, What I mean is, if I say yes, will you purposely lose to him? Chapter 283. Gu Mingming nodded her head in satisfaction before wrapping her arms around Elvis's neck. You will listen to me, right? Elvis nodded without hesitation. Gu Mingming pressed her forehead against Elvis's and said, I want you to be invincible. Elvis was stunned and his lips curled up. He kissed Gu Mingming's lips and said softly, All right, from today onwards, there will only be death in battle and no defeat. Gu Mingming shook her head and said, Only victory, no defeat and no death. I don't want to be a widow, and I don't want my son to be an orphan. Elvis followed Gu Mingming's hand and looked at her flat stomach. There was a strange feeling nourishing his entire body. Placing Gu Mingming on the bed, he knelt on the floor and pressed his face against Gu Mingming's stomach. He held his breath and concentrated on listening to something. Gu Mingming smiled and said, It's only been a few days, what can I hear? I can only hear it after 3 to 5 months. Elvis tilted his head and looked at Gu Mingming, saying, They should give birth in about 60 days. After 3 to 5 months, you don't have to listen anymore, and they should be able to run around. Gu Mingming was stunned and asked with her eyes widened, What? 60 days? Elvis nodded and said, The gestation time for wolf cubs is about 60 to 63 days. Gu Mingming deeply felt that ever since she came to the beast world, her life seemed to have pressed the fast-forward button. First love, heartbreak, marriage, pregnancy. Everything happened in such a short time that she did not even have the time to carefully savor each feeling before rushing to the next stage. What's wrong? Elvis asked. Gu Mingming's face was bitter as she said, People say that a woman is like a princess when she's in love, like an empress when she's married, like an empress when she's pregnant. And after giving birth, she has to be an old mother for a generation. I only became a princess for a few days, and you're already in a hurry to mate. You're an empress for less than a month, and you're already an empress. I thought it would at least be a full month, but you want me to return to the court and start a long journey as an old mother in just 2 months. Sobs. Elvis, I've really suffered a loss in marrying you. I want a refund. Elvis completely did not understand the difference between princess, empress, and old maid. Or rather, he did not understand the meaning of these titles at all. Gu Mingming's emotions had been fluctuating greatly ever since she got pregnant. He was especially afraid that she would be angry, because she said that if a pregnant woman was angry, it would result in a miscarriage, which was very dangerous. So Elvis asked carefully, Do you want to be a princess, an empress, or an empress? Gu Mingming twitched her lips and said, I don't want any of them, I want to be a queen. All right, then you can be the queen. After the ice melts, we will hold the heaven offering ceremony, and let Leah report to the beast deity that you are the queen of Saint Nazir. All right? Elvis said seriously. Looking at Elvis's serious face, Gu Mingming suddenly laughed. She raised her head and said, You don't have to go through so much trouble. I just want to be your queen. Elvis also smiled. He knelt on the ground and wrapped his upper body around Gu Mingming's waist. My exclusive queen? Isn't that too blissful? Chapter 284. Elvis laughed. Silly girl. The females in the beast world are only responsible for breastfeeding. The rest is done by the males. Gu Mingming was overjoyed and raised her eyebrows high, asking, So, you are the one taking care of the children? You don't need me to? Elvis nodded. Yes, queen. But you have to take care of the children, and me during my confinement. Won't it be too tiring? Although Gu Mingming had never given birth before, she had the experience of taking care of little kids in the past, so she knew how scary naughty children were. Confinement? Elvis caught the main point. Yeah. Gu Mingming nodded. After a woman gives birth, all the bones in her body will be more or less displaced, so she needs to rest for a month to let her bones return to their original positions. She can't be exposed to the wind, nor can she be tired, or else there will be repercussions, and she will have to suffer for the rest of her life. Gu Mingming still did not know how big of a hole she had dug for herself with her words. Elvis remembered this sentence firmly in his heart, then said, It's all right, let Leah take care of the cubs, I will take care of you. Gu Mingming raised her eyebrows, asking, It's not appropriate to throw your own children to others. Elvis kissed Gu Mingming's forehead, saying, Xiaoming, don't be too cruel to Leah. At least allow him to do something for you. Or else he really won't be able to survive. But Gu Mingming frowned, feeling very burdened. But Elvis smiled. His smile was exceptionally evil. Males who have not mated cannot break through the bottleneck of the 3rd level. I am a 4th level beast now. While Leah is 3rd level, he can't beat me. Gu Mingming reacted for a while, then looked at Elvis with I didn't expect you to be such a scheming B***th face, saying, So you said, those who can't beat you can't become our family member. But as long as they have not mated, they can't beat you. So you want to order Leah around like a free Filipino maid? Is this alright? Is this really alright? Aren't the two of you good brothers who have depended on each other for many years? What happened to the friendship of life and death? How can this friendship of yours capsize so easily? But Elvis remained indifferent, saying, He can leave if he's unwilling, I won't stop him. Gu Mingming shook her head helplessly and said, I didn't expect you to be like this, Elvis. You're so black-hearted. Elvis pulled Gu Mingming's little hand over and kissed it, before saying, So you don't have to feel burdened. Just accept his kindness. When he defeats me, you can consider whether or not you want to accept him. Gu Mingming still wanted to say something, but Elvis stood up and walked to the side of the stone pot, saying, Leah cooked 3 days' worth of food before we left, and asked me to pour a bowl of it into the pot to heat it up for you to eat. I'll take this bowl today. With that, Elvis poured a bowl of unknown substance into the stone pot. There was originally a finger-deep pool of boiling water in the stone pot, and when the frozen food fell into the pot, the boiling water splashed everywhere. But Elvis's face was cold, and he did not dodge. He just stared at the pot, as if he was facing a formidable enemy, constantly comparing the situation in the pot with the food that Leah told him to take out of the pot. Looking at Elvis, who was obviously not good at cooking, but kept learning and trying hard for her sake, Gu Mingming could not bear to discuss more about other men with him, especially when this man was her ex-boyfriend. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.